We're here looking at a model I made some years back of the USS Deluth. This is a Cleveland-class destroyer from World War II. Basically, it's one of my first real attempt at making a detailed historical model. It's somewhere between minifig and micro scale. There's some kind of unique techniques I experimented with, basically bending the bricks to make the hull the right shape. So it was a bit of a challenge. Nobody had done anything like that on this scale, but I wanted to make sure we could curve the hull and curve the deck, and it seems like it came together really well. I built this just for my own amusement, and I've been a part of the GMLTC Greater Midwest Lego Train Club. And they were doing displays. They'd set up basically they were taking their train display down to Brickworld in Chicago and invited me to come with, because I've been a member of the club for many years. I decided at the last minute I would go, and I threw this in the car and said, okay, we're going to Chicago. Suck it out on the table, registered it for Brickworld on the spot, which I don't even think you can do anymore. And it won Best Earthcraft. I didn't even know I was nominated. The trophy just showed up. So I was pretty excited about it. So it's the first time I ever won anything at any sort of Lego event. So. Okay,
that's very cool. Yeah, those rewards are always cool at the conventions like that. So even if you don't fully sign up, you got still able to win there.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me, but it was cool. I mean, it was a fun show, and I went back to Brickworld almost every year since. Mm-hmm. So it was a good show. I like going there.
Yeah, and so as far as the ship's concerned, then what's the inside of that like as far as structurally? Is that pretty easy to move around, or?
Yeah, it's fairly solid. It's basically the only thing that's not very well, that's not sturdy, is that it's so top heavy that if you take it in a vehicle and which I've had happen, where I've had to stop suddenly, the top of the ship went sliding up. So I have a picture of this thing sitting on the dashboard of my car when it went shooting across my vehicle after having to stop and make an emergency stop on the highway. This thing didn't want to stop and ended up in pieces everywhere. So wow. It's a frame inside. It's fairly well sturdy to pick up, but yeah, traveling with it's kind of you're taking your chances.
Mm-hmm. And with this being one of your older ship models, have you noticed a difference in the pieces that you could use when building this versus if you go to build a ship today?
Well, you can see by the color, it's old gray. Yeah. So this was built some years ago. So obviously the colors have changed. When Lego changed their color palette, I actually kind of dropped off of building for a while because I was really disappointed, and it took me a long time to actually build up enough of the new grade to build anything worthwhile. So mm-hmm. I built this ship, and then a few years later I built a slightly bigger USS Missouri, and that was a real challenge to finish because I started building it in old gray, and then Lego had their changeover halfway through my model, so I had to buy a lot of the older colors and pay a premium price to finish that model.
Oh man. Yeah, I know. I don't think you were the only one upset about the color change. Yeah. I think that quite a few people.
I like the new colors. Okay. I just didn't like the fact that all of a sudden my old colors didn't match.
Didn't work with your old collection anymore. So
when you've been collecting for 30 years, which is 35 years, which at the time was a lot of bricks for me, and then all of a sudden I can't get any more. That was a real bummer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Thank you for telling us about the ship.